Margaret Kuhlman of Soul Astrology. Stay with yourself, your immediate experience of being human. Stay with your heart as the love that is all flows through. Stay with your root, linking the human form with limitless space. Stay present now and be with the mighty throng of light to hold and to heal and to love everyone and all that is. Margaret Kuhlman. I've been doing these videos for years, and I never put my face there. I notice that everyone else who speaks about the new moons has their face. I guess it is reassuring to see who's talking to you and to see that they are talking to you. But I'm used to working by phone. And when I read charts, I'm always looking at the charts. So for me, it's more natural to speak while I look at the charts. And I hope that you too will gain something from looking at the chart I'm speaking about. There's something about standing back from everything that's going on, standing back into oneself, looking at a chart, even a chart of the moment, certainly a chart of one's own personality. So let's stand back and look at this new moon chart. Uranus, who is about freedom and standing back, being somewhat detached, is actually on the North Node in Taurus. So one might say it is to do with human evolution at present. And we can only properly achieve that if we start from the South Node. In Scorpio, it's still requiring that we all look deep under the stones, find out what's at the bottom of the pile, the ground under the lake's water. And only by knowing, or being at least open to knowing, the depths, are we able to properly recognize that we are not matter. We are not physical in our being. In fact, nothing is apart from being spirit manifesting. In this new moon chart, there's the sun and moon at the very first degree of Capricorn, and at right angles to Jupiter, who went into Aries on the 20th of December, just before the solstice on the 21st of December. And here is the new moon on the 23rd. So it is interesting that the new moon is at the beginning of Capricorn and Jupiter at the beginning of Aries. A real full statement that something is starting. There is a new birth actually happening on the energetic level. That is the possibility of us all, in a way, behaving as though we are being born again. That right angle, the square, suggests with most planets a conflict. With Jupiter there may be a conflict of interests, but Jupiter doesn't conflict directly, rather it gives you more than you wanted. So we have to contend here with perhaps more of the physical pressures than we might have wanted. And as a contrast to that, as a balance to that, Jupiter is making it very much about each individual person themselves. So we could seem to be very selfish in the face of a whole lot of necessities. But it's the new birth that is perhaps at loggerheads with how things have been in the past. Yet with the new moon at the beginning of Capricorn, it's like a request from the universe that we actually start to reorganize ourselves. Do it differently this time, but still very practical, still very sensible, being cautious where that's a good idea too, but not being fearful. Jupiter in Aries is not fearful. Courageous, it encourages us. So this is encouraging us to leap out of the ocean. The first degree of Aries, of course, is just leapt out of Pisces, the ocean of selflessness, the ocean of humanity as one thing, without consciousness, perhaps, unless that is the spirit of humanity, but mostly we're not conscious on that level. It is a sort of call to action, but we do still have Mercury and Venus in Capricorn, who've been there for most of December. Our way of relating, our way of communicating with each other, Capricorn, being fairly responsible. That is, responsible for our own selves. Tendency with Capricorn to take responsibility for everything else as well, including other people who are perhaps seen as not as capable as oneself. But in fact, as this is the Aquarian age, we are not responsible for other people's feelings, reactions, responses to life, only for our own self. So the virtue of Capricorn is that there is competence to handle whatever arises on the material plane. All the other signs can kind of relax and know things will be taken care of. The trine from Venus and Mercury is to Uranus. So it is asking us to stand back, give each other space in our relating, in our communicating. Take time. Be careful what you say, how you speak. Being careful of the results, the potential to hurt. And also the potential to heal by giving space, by assuming that the other person can handle their life. Mars sextiles Chiron. Chiron also in Aries. Mars in Gemini, still communicating away, having lots of ideas and thoughts about all sorts of things, which can be confusing. Connecting here with Chiron, feeling perhaps a little uncertain about communication, not having full personal confidence in speaking out. And as we are being called to be cautious, this is not a bad thing. With Jupiter in Aries joining Chiron, maybe the process of Jupiter completing his time in Aries on this round of 12 years suggests he will be encouraging the healing aspect of Chiron. That all old wounds, especially those wounds received since Chiron went into Aries in 2019, that all those wounds can be washed into the past, that any damage done can gently fade away during these months until April when Jupiter leaves Aries. It's a nice thought and I'd like to back it. So let us let go of the damage as much as we may. Mercury sextiling Neptune, which does suggest that our speech, our thoughts will be open to spiritual input. That we may be using a lot of intuition, and that does mean a need to reality check, because we often don't read our intuition correctly. The intuitions are probably fine, but we don't necessarily understand the full import of them. So it's good to check with people and situations before deciding anything. And above all, to aim for the more spiritual response, if in doubt. Kindness and respect for individuals. The Aquarian way. At the full moon, on the 6th of January, we have the moon sextiling Uranus and the Sun and Mercury taking the place where Venus was at the new moon. So it's as though we've completely absorbed into ourselves and are communicating from that sense of responsibility for ourselves and the effect that we have on the world. Uranus is also about new things, letting go of the past way of doing things maybe, and having new ideas. Mercury retrograding back towards the Sun at that point. So thinking back again over how we have been and how we need to be to sustain the life that we want to live, to see it from a detached perspective in order to make clearer decisions. And Venus, meantime, has moved into Aquarius, trining Mars, so the communication being very much about how to care for each other dispassionately. Sometimes people see Aquarius as cold, but actually, if you take the emotional passion out of the feeling, one can be left with the most pure kindness, spiritual openness, acceptance, non-judgmental, the finer traits of Aquarius. It's love in its more pure form, non-possessive, and on a more human level, definitely needing space. Jupiter will have settled into Aries by 1 degree, so the impetus for action not quite as powerful, but still on track for doing things in a new way, for birthing a new way of relating, a new form of community. With all the planets on one side and the Earth, therefore, facing them across the solar system, from the universe at our backs, this can feel like a time of exposure on a kind of cosmic level. Not just the Earth, but the Earth as part of a much larger system, part of a much larger system again, and so on. The awareness of vastness and the unknown. A recognition that what we actually know is tiny. There are layers and dimensions and worlds, star systems, galaxies, angels and devas, being is everywhere, without boundary. It brings a sense of humility, which perhaps is also part of the necessary equipment to be Aquarian. And at this time, Saturn is not connecting very strongly with anything, with any of the other planets in this simple set of aspects that I use, as though the teacher is standing back while humanity sorts itself out, giving us time to try things out and to change our minds, to find what works, to discover for ourselves what we truly value, to let go of preferences. Standing back from our own personality, who we think we are, largely identified by desire and preference. Standing back from that, it's possible to feel the importance of others, how we all affect each other, how I am affected by everyone else, not just the distant people who are suffering from war and starvation and brutality, but my neighbours, my family, the council of the town where I live. We are all affected by each other. We swim in the sea of life as a whole, as the Earth swims in space. I have put more of the dates of the changes in my letter on the website, and perhaps a slightly different focus. And I hope you feel the connection with me as I feel connected with you through the great wonder of astrology charts and our involvement in humanity's growth via our own self-development. I'm wishing you well through this solstice, this season, into the new year, 2023. Wishing you joy and newness that opens you into the next stage of our life. Thank you.